Yeah, happy weekend, guys. This is Joseph again from Nigeria. How was your week? I hope it was fine. Alright. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about selection and transform tools. Selection and transform tools. So, when you are in 3D softwares, there is need for you to know how to select objects and how you can transform or manipulate objects from a particular state into a different state. So, talking about selection. Now, basically, we have, if you want to go to your selection icon, you come to this, your standard bar or quick access toolbar, like I called it, if you remember my previous tutorial. So, if you haven't watched my previous tutorial, just go back and listen to my previous tutorial. So, I call this the quick access toolbar, can be gotten here. So, the selection tool can be gotten here. So, if I click, these are the four selection tools that we have. So, I'm going to click on this part so that I can have it undocked here. Alright, so we have the live selection, we have the rectangular selection or rectangle selection, we have the lasso, and we have the polygon selection. But I will talk about, okay, so the first one is called the, sorry about that, the first one is called the live selection. So if I'm to select live selection, so basically how I'm going to use it just by painting. So just click outside and paint over the object you want to select. That object is selected, release your hand. I'll do it again. Click, paint over the object, release your hand, it is selected. If you paint on an empty space, nothing will be selected, or anything you have selected will be deselected automatically. So that is for selection, just, or it's either by clicking, using it to click, or from an empty space, paint over it. Then you also have what is called the rectangular selection. Rectangular selection will allow you to create a rectangle over the object you want to select. So basically what I'm doing is just coming on an empty space, click and holding down to create this rectangle object. Then let go of my mouse, the object is selected. Then we have a lasso selection. Lasso selection is just like a freeform selection, just like you are drawing with your pencil. So click, the object is selected. So far the object is touched by it, it is selected. Then we have the polygonal selection. So the polygonal selection allows you to create like clicking points over the object. As far as the object is selected, you press enter, then the object is selected. So if I click outside, it's not touching the object, and I press enter, notice it deselected. But as soon as I click and it touches the object, then press enter, the object is selected. I hope you understand that. Alright, the shortcut for this is, now if you move your mouse over each of these selection, you are going to see a tooltip and it's giving you the shortcut. So basically for live selection, you hit 9 on your keyboard, notice it jumps. If you hit 0, it goes to rectangle selection, and if you hit 8, it goes to lasso selection. Polygonal selection, I don't know the shortcut. Please, if you have the shortcut or you happen to know the shortcut, please hit me in the comment below. Thank you very much. Alright, that is selection. Okay, there's something I also didn't mention last week that reminds me. Now, I was talking about changing my view. I will say that again. If you haven't watched my last tutorial talking about the overview of the interface of Cinema 4D, you could just go back and pause this, watch that, then you can come back. Thank you. Alright, I was telling us that we have different views, but I didn't tell us the shortcut to moving into this view. So the shortcuts are F1 will take you to the perspective view, F2 will take you to the top view, F3 will take you to the right view, F4 will take you to the front, then F5 will take you to the four split screen. So we get that F1 perspective, F2 top, 3 right, 4 F4 for front, then F5 for the fourth screen. So I'll go back to perspective, which is F1. Alright, so I just felt that is worth knowing because it makes work very easy. So talking about the next one, which is heading to the transform tool. So we have three major transform tools in Cinema 4D. Now, what are transform tools? Transform tools allows us to manipulate objects. So let's say, for instance, I want to move an object from one position into another position. I'm manipulating it. That is, I'm manipulating the object, actually moving it from a particular state. Then I want to rotate, turn the object. I want to enlarge or reduce the object. So basically, we have three transform tools. We have the move transform tool, we have the scale transform tool, and we have the rotate transform tool. Alright, so we'll talk about the move. So if I click on the move, this is the icon for the move next to our selection tool. So if I click on move, I'll just select the object. As soon as I select the object, notice when you have your selection tool and select the object, you tend to use all these skills that you just learned. So but if you go to your move tool, just select the object, you have this icon which also came out with transform tool. Alright, so talking about transform tool, you have these axes, these arrows that show on this object. Now when I started 3D software, what I use in getting myself familiar with this is just making use of these axes that I have, and this word axis here. Now if you notice, the green line tells me that it's on the Y axis, the blue line tells me it's on the Z, and the red one tells me it's on the X axis. So that means if I'm to move this object on my Y axis, then I have to click and hold down the green arrow, then move it up and down. So you can notice I can only move it up and down. I want to come sideways, but I can't go sideways, only constraining me to up and down. And also coming to this transform manager, like I said, notice that only the Y axis gets updated. So if I'm to, can you see, only the Y position gets updated. Alright, so the next one is the Z. So if I'm to click, the Z get updated and the X get updated. You can see it here. Alright, now if you also see, you have this shape that are also present between two axes. This is called the axis band. Now this axis band allows you to constrain your movement to two axes. So if I want to move this object along my Y axis and at the same time move it along the Z axis, then I can use this axis band. So if I click on it and move, notice I can move up and sideways along those two axes. And if you also come to this, notice that only the YZ that is updating. Alright, okay, so same thing for every other part. Okay, but if you want to move this object on all axes, basically all you need to do is just click on an empty space. Make sure your move tool is selected. Click on an empty space. You can move the object on all axes. Alright, okay. Now another way you can constrain your movement without touching this object is by using this, your axis heading, using this your axis value. So if I want to move this object without using this axis band here to the Z axis, then I need to turn off these two axes. Then if I move, it can only move along the X axis. And there is something I need you to notice. As soon as I turn these things off, you notice that the green and the blue grays out. That means they are turned off. I can't move the object along that axis. Alright, so if I want to move it along two axes at the same time, so let's say X and Z, then I turn off Y. I cannot move this object up. I can only move it along Z and X. Alright, so I'm going to bring this back. So the next one is rotate. Rotate will allow me to rotate object about a particular axis. So if I want to rotate my object about my X axis, then I can click on the red band. Alright, so if I want to rotate this object about my z-axis, then hit this, it rotates about the z-axis. I hope that makes sense. Alright, okay. Now, if you also come down here, you notice these values here. You have the position, you have the size, which is also the scale, then you have the rotate. But something is happening here now. Instead of XYZ, I'm having HPB. Why am I having HPB? I'm meant to have a particular axis. So why am I having this? So basically, this is the heading, this is the pitch, and this is the banking. I don't know why they decided to use that in Cinema 4D, but they have their reasons. But there is a way you can change this if you want to have your normal X and Y axis. So let me zero this out. You can just select the object, you come to the coordinates, then under your R for rotation, click on this PB, then choose any of these axes. You have your XYZ, Z this. If you choose XYZ, you can rotate it about X, you can rotate it about Y, and you can rotate it about Z. I hope that makes sense. Alright, so now also I need you to notice something. If you look at this object, you have another gray line here, gray circle. Now this gray circle, if I'm to click in within the gray circle, not on the object, now within the gray circle, and I move, it will allow me move on all axes. That is, rotate this object on all the axes. It will allow me rotate about all the axes rather. But if I'm to click outside it, only rotates perpendicular to my screen. Only rotate perpendicular to my screen. Can you notice? So if I'm to change my view to this, so my screen has changed to this, and I click outside, it rotates perpendicular to my view. Alright, okay. Then we have the scale. The scale will allow me to scale this object up or down. Scale it up or down. Alright, but if you notice something, scaling this object, I can't scale on an axis. If I select the green axis, everything scales uniformly. If I select Z, scales uniformly. So why is this happening? Alright, but there is a way we can do that. We can come here to this coordinate section, then you can scale about the individual axis if you want. So if I want to scale the x-axis, maybe I want it to be enlarged twice the value, then I can come here and scale it to 2 times that. About the x right there. So I can just change this to 2, then we have that. Alright, okay. Alright, so that is it about the transform tools really. So but each of these have shortcuts also. Now if I'm to go to my move tool, I'll hit E on my keyboard, it takes me to my move tool so I can move this object. If I hit R, it takes me to my rotate. If I want to go to scale, I hit T, then scale. So one more time, E for move, R for rotate, T for scale. Alright, okay. I thank you for watching, and please, if you have learned something, I know this is just a very simple tutorial and it is actually meant for beginners. So if you feel you have learned something from this, please, I would like you to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please help me grow the channel and subscribe and share the videos, and I really appreciate that. Now if you have any comments about this, or you have a future video that you want me to do, a solo video, not from the series that I'm on right now, you could just hit me on the comment below so that I can know what you want me to do, then I can do that as a solo tutorial. So thank you for